Good afternoon, my friends. I want to give you today a helpful tool to reframe your choices in recovery. This is a common, difficult thing to do when we're in limbic impairment recovery is how do I frame the choices I'm making in a way that doesn't remind me of an old coping behavior? So let me give you some examples. So a lot of times people have a lot of crosswiring around things like rest or either going to events, doing things, or choosing not to, things of that nature. And it's very hard. We have so much cross-wiring of, well, rest means I'm sick, or doing all these things and pushing past my limits is what I always used to do that put me in this position. And we can have a lot of activation from that cross-wiring. So the hack is this: reframe your choices, not in terms of what you are or are not doing on a physical exterior level, but what you are doing and choosing on a brain and nervous system level for your recovery. To put that into context, two kind of opposite examples. One is people who have coped with their chronic illness in the past before they began recovery by avoidance. You get invited to go somewhere, you have an event, either you decline immediately or panic in advance and don't go because you're afraid of symptoms and what might happen and not being able to cope with that experience. And in recovery, you might be, choosing to behave differently, to use your tools and recognize, okay, all I need to do is get my brain into dose chemistry, to the present moment on a positive focus. And as long as I keep myself in a healthy neural pathway and in dose chemistry, I'm going to be just fine. I'll be able to stay out of those loops or regulate myself in the presence of any symptoms that come up using my tools. That's called acting greater than you feel, meaning you are acting and putting your attention focus and creating positive chemistry and staying in a positive pathway when ordinarily that experience would have put you into this trauma loop over here. So you're acting into this new neural chemistry in an old context, right? And that's what you're doing, is acting greater than you feel and choosing to engage in life. And and you may have had some bad experiences trying to push past that in the past, and you're letting those go and choosing to act greater than you feel and engage in life or live in your value system. On the flip side, a lot of times, and this is something I do really want to be very clear, when we have, this is usually for those a little farther along in their recovery, where we can recognize if we've had some sort of trigger or experience that has started a limbic loop, and you can tell it's very strong. It has a kind of a freight train feel to it. And the only two choices are either to stop that pathway or let it run. They're each going to have their own set of consequences. And sometimes the appropriate thing would be, let's say you're going to go out and do something with other people and you realize, okay, I just had a big trigger, something I didn't expect happened socially in my environment, whatever, just something happened. And I know that if I don't interrupt this pathway by stopping and spending my time the rest of my day or for a few hours, doing practice, visualization, mood elevation, I'm probably going to be in this, this is going to be a pretty difficult experience, and it's not going to turn around until I turn it around, right? I'm not going to be able to just kind of act greater than I feel without really using my tools to actually completely shift the pathway from the trauma loop to a healthy pathway. And in those scenarios, if you do choose to stay home or stay, not go to an event and focus on interrupting that pathway and rewiring, sometimes that can also trigger that sense of, oh, well, I always used to do this and I'm just avoiding again. And oh my God, things aren't getting better. This is so bad. So, or sometimes we may have stayed home because we felt we had to do our practice and we didn't have a choice. So recognizing you have a choice and you have power and phrasing what you're choosing in terms of your brain rewiring practice and neuroplasticity. I'm acting greater than I feel. I'm interrupting this trauma loop. I'm staying in my training zone. I'm living into my values. I'm choosing rest, which is a nervous system state, not a physical position or activity. Phrasing things in that way it is invaluable to being able to rise above our physical circumstances and not get mired in what things look like, and instead focus on what's actually happening in your brain and nervous system and what you are freely choosing for yourself and your recovery on your journey. Love you guys.